Are you thinking of starting piano lessons, but you have no idea which piano to buy? You're not alone. In this video, I'll walk you through the best options for your specific needs and budgets so that you can make the right choice from day one. This is a part of my new FAQ series where I'll be walking through the most common questions that I get asked as a piano teacher. So I'm going to start out with the absolute best case scenario, but if these prices make your jaw hit the floor, don't click away just yet because there are also a lot more affordable options coming up later in the video. So in an ideal world, I would want every student to start out their piano journey on their own brand new acoustic piano, either an upright one like this, or on a grand piano like this. Although for your practicing purposes, you really don't need anything more than an upright piano. So I'm in South Africa right now, and the prices for a good, well-known upright piano starts at about 90,000 Rand up to about 100,000 Rand and higher. So if that price doesn't scare you, go for it. You might be able to get a slightly cheaper one, maybe from a lesser known brand, but in that case, I would definitely ask a piano tuner's opinion because they do know a lot about different types of pianos, different brands of pianos, and I would really value their opinion on it. So if a brand new piano is completely outside of your budget, my next recommendation would be to get a second-hand piano that is in a very good condition. So to make sure that it is in a good condition, I would recommend either buying it from a piano tuner himself or herself, or either to at least get a piano tuner's opinion on the second-hand piano that you are wanting to buy, so that you can make sure that there are no costly repairs needed, as there often are on second-hand pianos. As a general rule, I would be quite suspicious of any second-hand piano that costs less than around 30,000 Rand, as it is likely to not be in such a good condition. Here are some pros and cons about buying an acoustic piano. The pros: you have an authentic, real piano sound. You have the mechanical hammer action. You have the correct technique development for your fingers and your small finger muscles. You can hear the complex overtones and the resonance that the piano creates. And there is real pedal sensitivity that you cannot necessarily get with other options. The cons: of course, it is expensive. It is quite the investment. And an acoustic piano does require some upkeep, so you will need to tune it about once a year, and every now and then you might have some repairs that you need to do on the piano. A piano is also heavy and not portable. So for example, you can't take your own piano to a restaurant that you've been invited to play at. For example, you'd have to play on the piano that's already there. And it is quite loud, so it's not suitable for all living conditions. For example, if you live in a very small flat with neighbors nearby, they might not appreciate your practicing. Or if you live with a roommate, they might not appreciate your practicing at all times. If that is still outside of your budget, the next possibility that I would recommend is a digital piano, or what's also called an electric piano. You can also get something like a Clavinova, but their prices are quite high generally. So if that's your budget, I would rather go for a good second-hand piano. So for these, the main things that they should have, that you can just make sure and look out for, is they should have a keyboard with a full 88 keys, and they should have something called weighted keys or hammer action. That is important because that will develop your technique more correctly and closer than what it would be if you were practicing on a real piano. Then you want to make sure that you have a proper stand so that your keyboard can be the correct height of the floor that a normal piano would be. You also want to make sure that you have a proper piano chair. Please don't just use any chair that you have in your house, like an office chair or anything like that. And then I would recommend also getting a sustain pedal from day one. These pianos can really take you very far, and they are still a good option if you want to learn how to play the piano. But I would still recommend, if your budget changes later on, I would still recommend to swap it out for a real piano at some point. Their prices start at around 15,000 Rand and up. The prices go much higher, but if you get into the higher priced ones, like I said, I would rather you just get a good quality second-hand piano. Let's go through some of the pros and cons of a digital piano. The pros are it's more affordable than a real piano. There's no upkeep or tuning required. You can just plug it in and it will play. It could be portable. It is still very heavy and you would need a proper case for it, but it is possible to, if you have a big enough car, to load it in your car and take it with you to a gig. You can play with headphones, so no disturbances for neighbors or roommates. And it comes with other digital music features if that's something that you'd like to experiment with at some point. Now for the cons, the sound quality is not exactly authentic like a real piano. You would have a limited dynamic range. It's dependent on electricity, which in South Africa can sometimes be an issue. And your technical ability might be affected by practicing on one of these pianos instead of a real one. The last option that I would recommend is a keyboard, something like this. Now let me start by saying there is nothing wrong with a keyboard as an instrument per se. You can make fantastic electronic music on a keyboard, but in this context where you want to learn to play the piano specifically, it is not a great fit. The only time where I would really recommend buying a keyboard is if your budget really doesn't allow for any of the other options, or if you're not sure that you want to continue with piano and you kind of just want to start out and check it out and see what it's all about and see if it's for you. Now they start out at around 3,000 Rand, so it's much more affordable, but I would also make sure that you have a proper stand so that it's also the correct height of the floor, a proper piano chair, and also preferably a sustain pedal that goes along with it. If you then decide to pursue piano lessons more long term, I would definitely recommend swapping it out for one of the other options as soon as possible. Let's go through some of the pros and cons of a keyboard. The pros are it's much more affordable, there is no upkeep or tuning required, it's definitely portable, you can play with headphones, so no bothering your neighbors or your roommates, and it comes with a lot of other digital music features, which once again, if that's something that you'd like to explore, then that could be a good fit for you. The cons are it does not have a full 88 keys, it has a very limited dynamic range, there's no hammer action, so your technical ability is very likely to be affected by practicing on a keyboard. And also it's dependent on electricity, which once again in South Africa is not always ideal. There are a few options out there that might at a glance look like you could practice the piano on them, but that really won't work for learning. These are things like mini pianos, roll-up pianos, floor pianos. These won't work because they really, although they're fun to play with, are more like toys. And you'd be surprised at the amount of times that people ask me about these and I have to answer, unfortunately, no, you cannot learn to play the piano on these options. They are not the correct size and they don't have the key features that you will need to learn how to play the piano. And in the end, remember, the best piano for you is the one that allows you to practice consistently and joyfully. So let me know in the comments down below what you're currently playing on and what you might be saving up for. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and there will be more videos coming soon.